11 things to know about component variants. Components are a way of making interface elements easier to design and more consistent. You only have to create each element once, and then you can edit it anywhere. Variants are a new feature of components that Figma introduced in late 2020 as a way of grouping similar components. When you're using variants, the main component becomes called a main component set. This is signified by the same purple 4-diamond icon in the Layers panel. Within this component set are variants, signified by a filled-in diamond. The component set, by default, has a purple dash stroke around it. In general, it's best to always group similar components into a single component set, but you don't need to do this if the only difference in each component is a change in a nested instance of a different component, as you can just swap out what that nested instance is. With component instances, some things can be overridden. I could change the text and the fill of this card instance, but I can't actually rearrange the shapes inside. Variants are really useful here because you can change things that can't be overridden, like the position of items in a component. You don't need to make variants for things which can be overridden, for example, a background color, but you can if you want to set useful defaults for designers who will be using your components. You can reorder or rename variant properties by clicking on the main component and in the sidebar, dragging to reorder or double-clicking on the property name to rename it. There are 3 ways to add new variants to an existing component set. Firstly, by clicking the purple plus button in the component set. Secondly, by pressing this button at the top once you've selected the component set. Thirdly, by holding down Option or Alt on Windows and dragging a copy of an existing variant to somewhere within that component set. If you want to change a similar layer across all of your variants, pressing this purple target icon lets you select all similar layers across all variants in the set. When you turn separate components into a component set of variants, if those components are named with slashes, which would have grouped them into folders in your assets panel, those slashes will get automatically turned into properties for your variants. One reason why variants are good to use is because they increase discoverability and they serve as different options to designers, so you can see for any instance what options are available to you. They also help simplify the assets panel. Previously, if you used the slash name technique to group similar types of components, you'd have to dig down into folders to find each component. By using variants, you now just drag out the default variant and you can adjust all the properties from the sidebar. Variants are also good because they help keep your components in Figma aligned with your components in code. By using a tool like Storybook with Figma, you can see how all these component properties mirror what's in production. And lastly, the reason the Figma team called this feature component variant instead of just calling it component states was in order to emphasize just how many things there are you can do with variants. It's not just limited to states of buttons. There are so many different capabilities that using variants unlocks. Thanks for watching. Hope you found this useful. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.